Alright, so the first step when you're solving a rational equation is to get a common denominator. Right? It's kind of like when you were adding fractions way back in the day. So we have a 3n minus 3 as the denominator for 2 of our 3 pieces here, and we need to get that 1 to have a common denominator of 3n minus 3. So I'm going to actually multiply the 1 times 3n minus 3 over 3n minus 3, which is 1 times anything is just that number. So 1 times 3n minus 3 over 3n minus 3. And feel free to make that into a fraction just to help you out in case it were something else besides a 1. It's just 3n minus 3 over 3n minus 3. So it's a lot of 3n minus 3's. Okay. And then we're going to, so we've replaced the 1 with its equivalent that has the common denominator. And then let's rewrite everything else. 5 over 3n minus 3, and then equals 1 over 3n minus 3. And the nice thing about having a common denominator is that now we can just focus in on the numerators. We will need to come back to those denominators for extraneous solutions, things that look like they should be solutions, but would make the denominator 0. Okay, so we'll come back to those, but we're going to focus in on 3n minus 3 and just make this into a basic algebraic expression. I'm going to cross out number 13. You can skip number 13 so we have space. I didn't do a good job spacing, I apologize. So then combine like terms. So we have 3n minus 8 equals 1. Add 8 to both sides. 3n equals 9. And then divide both sides by 3. N equals 3. And to check, we want to plug that back into the denominator and make sure it doesn't equal 0. If I plug a 3 in, and I want to go 3 times 3 minus 3, that's 9 minus 3, which is 6. Doesn't equal 0, so I'm good. I put a check mark there just to remind myself I already checked. I made sure it didn't equal 0. If it equals 0, it's called an extraneous solution, and it's not a solution.
And what do you do?
You would just write extraneous solution. So that would be that. Let's look at number 12. Again, we're going to cancel out. We're going to reduce the size of this assignment here. So again, make it into common denominator. They make it easy on us. It's already a 2n. The denominator for 1 would be a 1. So we're multiplying by 2n over 2n, which again just gives us 2n over 2n since it's multiplied by 1. Equals n minus 3 over 2n minus 1 over 2n. Step 1 is done. Found the common denominator. Step 2 is just look at the numerators and make an algebraic equation. So 2n equals n minus 3 minus 1 and solve. So combine like terms. I have n's on both sides. I'm going to need to subtract n, which just gives us n equals negative 4. And I double check, is that extraneous? I plug it in. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. As long as it's not 0, we're good. I plug the negative 4 back into the denominator and see if it equals 0.
And the last step.
I subtracted n from both sides, so I got 1n equals negative 4, or n equals negative 4.
But 2 is being multiplied
So when I subtract 2n minus 1n, I get 1n. So I only have 1n left.
Oh, okay.
These are a little challenging. All right, for number 15, we're gonna, again, change it up. I'm gonna actually change this to a 2, so we get a little variety here. So it says 2 instead of 1. And I'm gonna again cancel out number 17. So common denominator is already in place, so I'm multiplying 2 by 2k plus 3 over 2k plus 3. And then minus 3 over 2k plus 3 equals 6k plus 2 over 2k plus 3. Focus on the numerators, and it becomes very basic. Once you have a common denominator, I think that's the most challenging part, is finding a common denominator, which they've made very easy for us since it's already pretty obvious what that is. And then we would set up our algebraic equation. And solve. So distribute 4k plus 6 minus 3 equals 6k plus 2. Subtract. So 4k plus 3 equals 6k plus 2. Subtract 4k. 3 equals 2k plus 2. Subtract 2. 2k equals 1. Don't forget to divide by 2. A lot of people make a crazy mistake right there and say k equals 2, but k equals 1/2. And then I plug that back in. If 2 times 1/2 is just 1, 1 plus 3 is 4, so it does not equal 0. It is not extraneous. It's a good solution. So that leaves you with question 16. If you want extra practice, there's a few extras that we crossed out, and you could try those separately, but the expectation here is to do number 16. If you watch the video, I have already done number 1 and 3 for you. So the expectation then is to do each one of these questions, which there's only 6 questions. So you have a total of 7 questions, and that's your flex assignment for tomorrow. So you could get it done. We'll have a quiz before we start presentations on Friday. Okay? It'll just be a quick 3-question quiz, one of each type. If you've done the assignments, it should be a breeze.
Wait, what time?